إن الحمد لله أستغفر الله العظيم استغفر الله. You ready? إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفر ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Alhamdulillah, today we are in our lesson of Tajweed. We are finished with Ahkam al-Nun al-Sakina Ahkam al-Nun al-Sakina wa Tanween. Alhamdulillah, there are 4 rules. I have some questions. Everybody should know, it's not the questions, it's a point. Everybody should know at this stage the 4 rules, Ahkam al-Tajweed, Ahkam al-Nun al-Sakina wa Tanween. Okay, everybody should know. So I'm going to ask, what's the first rule of Nun al-Sakina and Tanween? Idhar. What is Idhar? You can say it in English, you can say it in Arabic. What is Idhar practically?
Something makes clear.
Something made clear, but not something. I want something a little bit more clearer.
To pronounce a letter clearly to give it its right.
Which letter?
Noon.
Noon or Tanween. So it's to make the N sound or the Un sound or the In sound, whether it comes as a Nun al-Sakina or as a Tanween. Take your hand off your mouth, young man, and sit up. Only old men can do that, and you're not an old man. Okay, we'll come close. From the deen is to sit close to the teacher, inshallah ta'ala. I think, hold on, did you want them to sit close? Okay, cool. And don't put your fingers together. So, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. And the dalil of that is the statement in the second hadith, the hadith of Jibril, when Jibril came close to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he sat close to him and he put his hands on his hands. Ulama used that to say that this is from the deen, to get close to the teacher who's teaching you and get as close as you can so you can get it from him, inshallah ta'ala. But anyway, so the first rule is to make that noon sound very clear. What's the second rule? Idgham. What does idgham mean? Dakhala shay'un fi shay. Period, point blank. That's how you got to know it. Okay? What does it mean, dakhala shay'un fi shay? Something entered into something else. As a practical rule, it's to enter a sound onto that noon. It's for that noon to enter onto the next letter and to disappear. Right? Min ladun. Right? As opposed to min ladun. Man ya'mal. As opposed to man ya'mal, right? So that the noon disappears. It dakhala shay, it enters into another letter. Okay? The next one is what? What's the next rule? Third rule. What's that? Iqlab. What is iqlab? Hesitation kills. What is this thing in your chest? Your qalb, your heart. It beats. It flips blood from the left ventricle into the right ventricle, aorta, I should say, right? It's going next to right. In the same way, iqlab, it flips that noon and turns it into a meme. Anbiya, right? That noon, min ba'di, right? The noon is second and now gets flipped into a meme. The rule that we have to remember here is what? Don't close your lips. Don't put your lips, you close it so close that it's a little sliver, but it's not touching all of it until the last second when you make the ba sound. Min ba'di. Say that.
Min ba'di.
Right? You see that? Anbiya. No, don't say because if you close your lips, you made idgham. Right? Because now you made the noon disappear completely. We want to hear it for a little bit. And then we tulid. Then you give birth to the ba. Okay? Anbiya. So it's an anbiya. Okay? Going that way. The next rule is what? I'm sorry. We go back to idgham. I missed up a point of clarification. How many types of idgham is there? 2 types of idgham. Right? Idgham bi gunna and idgham without bi ghayri gunna. So complete idgham is without any gunna, because gunna is a sifat, a characteristic of the letter noon, right? Which we're going to get into today. We talked about the sifat. When you studied Arabic, your first lessons in Arabic was master letters, right? And in those lessons, if you memorized and paid attention, you were taught the sifat for every letter. That's going to become increasingly more important as we recite Quran. You notice when we get to Tajweed, we'll talk about, but you know, when you're reciting, sometimes you run out of air because you ran into a letter that had shidda, which is a sifat of quwwah, which is a description that has strength, right? And you didn't have enough strength to pronounce it. So you have to become recognizing which letters need what characteristics or meet these certain characteristics so you can be ready and prepared to give them their rights. Okay? And that's how you bring one science into the other one. Okay? Now, that being said, we go on to we will finish qalb. What comes after iqlab? Ikhfa. Everybody say that because I didn't hear anybody say it. Ikhfa. What is ikhfa?
It's conceal and cover.
It's cover and concealment. That's right. How is it done? It's a practical.
To fade the sound in.
Right. You fade it in because it is a nutqun a noon. It is to pronounce the noon bayna idhar wa idgham. So it's good that we put it last, right? Because it's to pronounce the noon sound between idhar, which is an, and idgham, which is ayn. It's gone completely. So between that is ikhfa. So I tell you that you are fading it in. Okay? You're fading that noon sound into that whatever letter. What are the letters of ikhfa?
It's 15 letters.
15 letters. How can I remember 15 letters?
The poem has the
صف ذا ثنا كم جاد شخص قد سما ضم طيبا زد في تقى دع ظالما. So whenever you run into a word that has that, you recognize. You begin to recognize how to pronounce that sound. Okay? Min ta'weel. Min ta'weel. You see that? Ta. Zid fi tuqa. The ta is there. Right? So you see that? Min ta'weel. Instead of saying min and without saying mit. So the noon is there, but it's not all the way. So I fade into min ta'weeli. Say that. You have to make it sound clearer. Because remember, the listener should hear every letter. Should be able to identify. If he or she knows the rules, he'll hear them as you're reciting. And he'll be able to notice the mistakes. Okay? They'll be able to notice them because you're listening now. And you know what you're listening for. And as I stated, the majority of the rules are almost all done. Okay? So that's our review, and now we're getting into this. If you haven't memorized these rules up to this point, it's going to become increasingly more difficult. Like I said, this is a detailed science. It's not difficult. You just have to pay attention to details and go one step at a time. You can't jump up 5 flights of steps. But if you walk, you don't even realize how many steps you've taken. Taking one step at a time. That's how you do it. How many steps did it take you to get in this room? You can't tell, can you? You probably took anywhere from 15 to 30 steps. But because you took little steps, or because you took one step at a time, you couldn't jump across this room in 2 steps or 3 steps or 5 steps. You know? So if you take it piece by piece, don't worry about where somebody else is. Don't worry about how silly you may sound right now. As an adult, you'll get over it. And you'll catch up. You'll catch up. Insha'Allah ta'ala. Okay, so now we're on the next rule. The next rule is the hukm al-mim wa nun mushaddada. Okay, that's the next rule right here is the hukm of the mim and the nun mushaddadatain. And it says I'm going to write it down for you. What that means is ahkam al-nun wal mim mushaddadatain. It says the rules and regulations surrounding the nun and the mim when they carry a shidda or a shadda. That's what we're doing here. And it's one simple rule, so it shouldn't take us much time to do it today. Ahkam, say it.
ahkam,
An-nun wal-mim al-mushaddadatain. Al-mushaddadatain, not dadatain. Al-mushaddadatain. Okay? Okay, so here is the noon. We have the noon. And we have the meme when it has a shadda on it. Okay? This is what we're talking about. Everybody see that? Is that too small? Do I have to make that bigger?
no,
Okay,